in Riyadh in May, the big fight in the history of boxing. In September, then 2 more fights in 26. Don't miss with the line.
Turki Alalshikh has just stunned the boxing world with an unbelievable announcement. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. will finally have their long-awaited rematch. And as if that wasn't exciting enough, this huge fight will be featured as a co-main event alongside Canelo Alvarez's showdown with William Skull. Fans are in for one incredible night of boxing.
Is there ever a possibility where you would rematch Errol Spence? Or is he in a position where he needs to win again before that makes sense for you?
This surprise announcement took everyone by surprise, and it's great news all around. Not only will the fighters be in for some serious paydays, but it's also a big win for the sport and its fans. Errol Spence's return has been something boxing fans have eagerly awaited, especially after rumors of a potential matchup with Spence and Fondora fell through. Fans were left waiting even longer for the return of the former unified welterweight champion, who held titles with the WBA, WBC, and IBF.
I'm about to take my belt off then.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I'ma do it. Errol,
You don't need more than the belt. I don't know what you talking about. I ain't one of your kids.
I'm
You
gonna
don't
treat
need
you.
more than the belt. I ain't one of your
I'ma
kids.
treat you like one.
Yeah, alright, we gonna see.
Alright, we definitely gonna see.
I got a feel for his power. Probably like first, second round. He's a strong dude, but everybody at this top level have some type of power. But
On Terence Crawford's side, things have been just as tricky. Boxing fans had hoped he'd take a tune-up fight in either the super welterweight or super middleweight divisions before facing Canelo Alvarez. For a while, it seemed like Crawford might go straight into the ring with Canelo without a warm-up, especially after posting a picture on social media showing him weighing 186 pounds. However, many felt this was a key difference compared to his previous fight with Errol Spence, where Crawford fought David Avanesian as a tune-up before facing Spence in the ring.
I think because my time was out, he was catching me in between shots.
I get to say I told y'all because I've been asking for these fights for years, and y'all been saying, "Oh, he's too small. He's gonna get this. He's gonna get broken." And each and every time that I step up, I prove.
On the flip side, Errol Spence didn't have a tune-up fight, and the difference was obvious when the two finally faced off. Spence was dropped 3 times and, for the first time in his career, was defeated by Terence Crawford via technical knockout.
Man, I got a lot of skill sets I feel like advantages over him. But at the end of the day, I feel like this fight is basically so even. It's going to be more about just being more focused and, not getting out of focus, especially in the later rounds, just making sure stand on point all throughout the fight and making sure you don't lose focus, because that's how you end up getting caught.
This became a major concern for many of Terence Crawford's fans, who feared that jumping straight into a fight with Canelo Alvarez without facing another fighter in the 154, 160, or 168-pound range could risk both his undefeated record and his legacy. Crawford's struggle in his super middleweight bout against Israil Madrimov was a clear indicator. The Uzbek fighter proved to be too strong for Crawford, and his punches didn't carry the same power they did when Crawford was dominating in the welterweight division, where he won all his fights by knockout.
He should. He didn't do the things that his daddy told him to do. What are you talking about? Even his daddy said it. Even his daddy said it.
You butthurt that I got the.
Even his daddy said it.
You butthurt.
Even Kell Brook, he was already broken.
So was he broken when you fought?
No, he wasn't broken.
How come?
I broke the other eye.
He came off of.
I broke the other eye. Yeah, that's how I got broke. That's how I got broke.
He came off a stoppage.
What does it matter?
He came off a stoppage and then he fought you.
Additionally, Crawford's fight with Madrimov showed that his punches weren't as effective at higher weights, and the power from Madrimov was causing him real discomfort. Although Crawford eventually won, many felt he didn't fully deserve the victory. Now, Crawford has finally set up a tune-up fight, and boxing fans couldn't ask for a better one. Even though it's almost certain Crawford will win, it's still a rematch of one of the biggest boxing bouts in recent years. Plus, it's the perfect warm-up as Crawford prepares for the toughest challenge of his career in September.
What does it matter?
Months prior.
What does it matter?
So was he broken or not?
No, he wasn't broken. No, he wasn't broken.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
What are you talking about? I had the same surgery he had, and what happened? So what they say about you then? You fight me then?
I'm gonna break that.
So what they say? So I'm broken then, right?
Well, you broken. You're gonna be broken July 29th.
Yeah.
It's everything boxing fans have been hoping for, and exactly what Turki promised. Finally, the boxing world won't have to keep waiting for the return of former unified welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr.
He got the size, he's strong, he's the big bad wolf, so come fight night, we're gonna find out, all that he say he is. He's gonna have to show me.
But this will be your 8th fighter at welterweight.
Spence hasn't fought since being stopped by Terence Crawford 2 years ago in their bout for the undisputed 147-pound title. After that loss, it seemed like Spence would be moving up in weight to face WBC and WBO light middleweight champion Spence and Fondora. March 29th was initially set as the date for that fight, but those plans quickly fell apart, leaving Fondora searching for a new opponent.
And there's the possibility. He win his fight, God willing. I win my fight, God willing. And there's your possibility right there.
When news broke that the Fondora fight had fallen apart, Spence took to X to give an update on his career, writing, "I'll be back when I'm ready." A fight between Spence and Fondora would have been an exciting matchup, especially after Fondora's breakout performance last year, when he won a tough split decision against Tim Tszyu to unify the WBC and WBO 154-pound titles. Boxing fan Turki Alalshikh, who has been vocal about bringing major bouts to the sport, promised that by 2025, there would be several world-class fights, with the potential gem being the long-awaited showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, possibly set for September.
I respect Crawford. He's a great fighter, and I always say that. No disrespect him, but sometimes it's a little crazy that people talking about a small fighter like Charlo. He's big, which he is big, and everybody's talking about if I'm gonna face Crawford, fighter 147, who is smaller than Charlo.
7 of them have been stopped. Will Errol Spence Jr. get stopped on Saturday night?
I always tell everybody, I don't go in there looking for the knockout. I go looking for the win. But if he get out of line, he's gonna be the next one down.
Both fighters stayed out of Turki Alalshikh's spotlight during a meeting in London last week, but it seems they began discussing the long-awaited fight between two of the best pound-for-pound fighters today. The fight is being planned for the weekend of Mexico's Independence Day in mid-September, according to ESPN. ESPN's boxing expert Mike Coppinger reported that, from what he's heard, negotiations are underway to finalize the deal for a September showdown, likely in Las Vegas. The fight will be at the 168-pound weight limit with no rehydration clause.
So no make sense when you guys say that right now. At the end of the day, I don't want to have credit to face Crawford, but you never know. You never know in boxing. I'll go up and down and fight everybody out there. So it's possible. Why not?
There's one major issue to figure out. Crawford would need to make a 14-pound jump in weight to match Canelo Alvarez's weight class. Canelo has been steadily moving up in weight over the years, starting at super welterweight, where he won the WBC title, and later becoming the unified middleweight champion. He briefly fought at light heavyweight, where he defeated Sergey Kovalev to claim the IBF belt, before settling at super middleweight, where he made history as the first undisputed 4-belt champion. However, former WBO and WBC light welterweight champion Tim Bradley doesn't believe either Crawford or Canelo can derail what he calls the Bud train. Instead, he believes that Crawford himself is the only fighter capable of ending his own reign of dominance in the sport.
Career like you did, Terence, wanting to move up 3 divisions, do you think his skill level is able to bridge the gap in those 3 weight classes? Because we saw how Jermell did against Canelo, and he's 1 weight class above, and he's bigger. How does he fare?
That's a tall order. It's a tough task, I would think,
I think the only person who can beat Crawford is himself at this point, Bradley recently told Fight Hype. While he respects Israel Madrimov as a champion, Bradley believes Crawford's skill is unmatched. He's confident Crawford will do well against Canelo, though he admits he'd be nervous if they were to fight. Canelo can punch, and it only takes 1 big shot, Bradley said. However, as long as Crawford uses his athleticism, footwork, and defense to avoid Canelo's power, Bradley believes Crawford can come out on top. Interestingly, Bradley thinks Crawford can outbox Canelo in a similar way Floyd Mayweather Jr. did 11 years ago when he defeated the younger Canelo at 22 years old in a catchweight fight in 2013. However, with Crawford about to turn 37 and never having fought above 147 pounds, he would be moving up in weight without having faced top contenders at 168. That makes his challenge even more daunting.
At the same time, I will back him. I think that his skill level is up there with the greatest. I don't think we've seen anything like Terence Crawford in all my years of boxing. I know that for a fact. I do study history. I've never seen anybody that has everything: good speed, power, timing, can switch the way he switches, to have the toughness.
More fans would likely agree with Bradley if Crawford took the time to prove himself at 160 pounds against top competitors, and at 168 pounds, to show he can truly hang with the best in those weight classes. The problem, however, is that many fans perceive Crawford as being in a rush to land a big payday against Canelo and secure a comfortable retirement, rather than taking the steps to prove his skills in those higher weight divisions. This is especially clear considering his fight against Jermall Charlo at 154 pounds. Bradley reacted to Canelo's comments that he wasn't interested in fighting Crawford because there was nothing to gain from such a fight. He moved up a couple of weight divisions to fight Canelo, but he went in there and laid an egg. He just survived, Bradley said. He didn't feel like he was on Canelo's level. The key difference, according to Bradley, is Crawford's mentality. He's a top pound-for-pound fighter. However, we still don't know if Crawford will be any different from Jermall Charlo because he hasn't shown any interest in testing himself against the top super middleweights to give fans a clear reference point.
The meanness that he has, the way he finishes guys, the way he breaks down guys. He's one of the smartest guys that I've ever seen in the ring, right up there with Floyd Mayweather. So yeah, I would pick Terence Crawford to beat a Canelo Alvarez, even at 168. Everybody can call me crazy and whatever you want to say. I get it. Y'all didn't believe me when I told you about Spence, but trust me, Crawford will figure out a way.
The way he finishes fights, the way he breaks down his opponents, Crawford is one of the smartest fighters I've ever seen in the ring, right up there with Floyd Mayweather, Bradley said. So yeah, I'd pick Terence Crawford to beat Canelo Alvarez, even at 168. Call me crazy if you want, but I stand by it. People didn't believe me when I said Spence was going to lose, but trust me, Crawford will figure out a way to win. Bradley continued, if Crawford decided to test himself against someone like David Benavidez or David Morrell, you could at least be confident that he's not just showing up for the payday against Canelo. But since Crawford has no intention of fighting anyone at 168 before facing Canelo, it's clear this is about money, not proving himself. Charlo was never a top pound-for-pound guy, but Crawford's skill set is what makes him dangerous. Bradley also praised Crawford's mentality, calling him a fierce competitor who's been chasing the Canelo fight for some time. I think Crawford will do well against Canelo, I really do, Bradley said. But yeah, I'm nervous about the fight because Canelo can punch, he hits hard. All it takes is one shot, especially with Crawford coming up 3 weight classes to face him. But just like Floyd Mayweather did in 2013 when Canelo was 22, Crawford could outbox him and outthink him.
Secret y'all don't know, and I ain't gonna tell you why I would pick Terence Crawford, but it's part of the secret is the reason why I'm picking him to win the fight. So
is it like a skill set? Is it like a preparation thing, or?
Nope, I'm not. Just gonna put it like this. If the fight was to happen, you will see. Yeah.
Because a lot of people think Terence can compete, but once he touches Canelo, because he's been hit by bigger guys, he's not gonna, I don't want to say show.
Bradley uses Mayweather's victory over Canelo as an example to argue that Crawford can overcome a significant size disadvantage against Canelo and still win. However, the comparison may not be as solid as it seems. When Mayweather fought Canelo, it was at 154 pounds, not 168, and it wasn't a case of Mayweather moving up to fight a fully grown, prime Canelo. So, while the Mayweather example is interesting, it doesn't exactly match the challenge Crawford would face fighting Canelo at 168 pounds. That said, Bradley believes Crawford has what it takes to outbox and outthink Canelo. I think Crawford has that ability to make Canelo miss, make him pay, and outsmart him, Bradley said. As long as Crawford isn't taking too many punches and uses his legs, athleticism, and defense to avoid the big shots, he should be able to beat Canelo.
But he's going to be able to get, okay, I could walk through this, I could take a little risk and set up my traps, cut the ring off, dig to the body, and wear Terence down over the rounds.
I'm just going to tell you like this. Yeah. If Canelo couldn't knock out Charlo, do you really think that he's going to knock out Crawford? Charlo was on his bike. Charlo was trying not to get hit. Canelo landed some shots. He dropped them, but he still didn't stop him. He didn't stop him. So
Bradley points out that Canelo, while strong and skilled with a good jab, quickness, and lots of hooks, tends to move forward slowly and predictably. Crawford, with his speed and defensive skills, should be able to avoid those attacks and get underneath them, giving him a good chance to beat Canelo. Bradley also criticized Charlo's performance against Canelo, saying, "Charlo didn't do anything. He was scared, didn't want to get knocked out. I don't blame him for that, but if you say you want to be great, you weren't great that night." In contrast, Bradley believes Crawford is willing to take risks and dare to be great. Crawford has that mentality, and I think he can do it, Bradley concluded.
Being said, if Crawford can get off, not get hit with the big shots, avoid those big shots, get off again, avoid those big shots, because you see the punches coming. Canelo is so predictable, dude. You know a hook is coming. You know when the right hand is coming. You know he's going down to the body. He gives it away. There's a tail with him. There really is. And it's usually off the high guard. He comes in, he marches forward, then boom. Crawford's going to be able to see all of that.
While Canelo hasn't shown much interest in the challenge, fans are definitely divided on what would happen. However, Sean Porter, who knows Crawford's abilities well, admits he's concerned. "It's a tough fight to predict, no doubt," Porter said. "But just look at Crawford's dominant performance against an elite-level boxer like Errol Spence Jr. that gives us a glimpse of just how dangerous Crawford can be."
Kind of turn into kind of like a UFC system. How is it now you working with guys like Turki?
I think, Turki is great for boxing. He's stirring the boxing game up and, making all the fights that the fans want to see. He's a big fan, so he's able and capable of doing things.
It's kind of starting to feel like the UFC system now, isn't it? Working with people like Turki, who's really making waves in boxing. "Turki is great for boxing," he said. "He's shaking things up and making all the big fights that fans want to see. He's a huge fan of the sport, so he's able to get things done that we wouldn't have even imagined last year."
Today marks our final day in boxing. I want to thank everyone who has been a part of this journey with me. To my dear friends scheduled to fight on the London and New York cards, I apologize for the time and effort you put into training camp. I wish you the best of luck in your future fights, as those events have now been officially canceled.
The promoters can't and don't want to do. A lot of fights that we want to see, but we don't want to pay for.
Right.
He's paying it. He's paying the fighters what they want.
Smiling a little different nowadays.
No, I'm just saying. I've been smiling good.
You been eating good. Smiling
full of gold. You can go all gold, all gold.
No.
His Excellency Turki Alalshikh made waves when he boldly told ESPN, "Boxing is broken." It was a bold statement, but he wasn't just talking, he was taking action. Since 2022, the chairman of the General Entertainment Authority has been pouring both his passion and a significant amount of money into the sport. As a result, Riyadh has become the go-to destination for major fights. From Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev for the undisputed light heavyweight title to massive matchups like Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua's bouts with Daniel Dubois and Francis Ngannou, Alalshikh has played a key role in reshaping boxing's landscape. Fans today are witnessing the impact of his efforts.
Yours truly, Turki. End of the quote. Nah, I ain't no genius, but coincidentally today is April Fool's, and I believe this is a big April Fool's joke. With that being said, there's no doubt about it, Turki has brought boxing back to life on certain weeks.
I relax his shoulders is back there on the couch.
See, this is the thing. Like, man, I got a lot of investments, a lot of smart investments, so coming up, I was smart with my money, so a lot of people.
And he didn't stop at Riyadh. His vision expanded to include major events in the US and UK too. But here's where it gets interesting. After just a year of being one of the sport's most influential figures, rumors about his potential retirement have started swirling. So, what's really going on? Let's break it down. Yesterday, His Excellency Turki Alalshikh took to X and dropped a massive update. In a heartfelt message, Alalshikh announced that the Turki Alalshikh era in boxing has officially come to an end. He didn't just step away quietly, his retirement also came with some major cancellations. If you were looking forward to the upcoming fight cards in London and New York City, unfortunately, we've got bad news for you.
But here's the problem with that. We cannot be going months without watching boxing, at least quality fights. I ain't talking about ultimate cherry pick some fights no one cares about, like Zabeta versus Tevin Farmer rematch. I'm talking about significant fights, fights that matter.
His post read, "Dear fans, today marks our final day in boxing. I want to thank everyone who has been part of this journey with me. To my dear friends scheduled to fight on the London and NYC cards, I apologize for the time and effort you put into your training camp. I wish you the best of luck in your future fights, as those two events have now been officially cancelled. Yours, Turkey." In his message, Alalshikh personally apologized to the fighters who had been preparing for those bouts, acknowledging the dedication they put into their training. He wished them well for their future fights, but made it clear that, unfortunately, those two events wouldn't happen under his watch. But let's be real, if you were paying attention, you probably questioned the timing of the announcement. And yep, you guessed it, it was all an April Fool's prank. Some people totally fell for it, but many fans saw through it right away. Turki Alalshikh was just having some fun, pulling the strings to see who would take the bait. And let's be honest, he got a few of us, didn't he?
We'll say, oh, well, he only fighting one time a year. Because I can wait out, my opponent or wait out whoever, because I never was starving for money. A lot of fighters, they have to fight. I don't,
If you've been following boxing news, you probably heard about TKO Group Holdings, the powerhouse behind UFC and WWE, securing a massive multi-year deal to launch a new boxing league backed by Saudi Arabia. And guess who's leading the charge? His Excellency Turki Alalshikh, alongside UFC President Dana White and WWE President Nick Khan. Alalshikh is poised to reshape the sport of boxing as we know it. There's been plenty of buzz about how this league will actually work, especially with many of boxing's biggest names already tied up in promotional deals. But Dana White recently cleared things up in an interview with ESPN, saying, "It's all going to go away. There's going to be one belt. It'll be like the Ultimate Fighting Championship model. We're going to have one belt, and that's it." White went on to mention that this new approach will bring all the major boxing organizations like the WBC, IBF, and WBA into the fold, aiming to unify the sport under one banner.
We'll say, oh, well, he only fighting one time a year. Because I can wait out, my opponent or wait out whoever, because I never was starving for money. A lot of fighters, they have to fight. I don't.
That means no more World Boxing Council, WBC, World Boxing Association, WBA, International Boxing Federation, IBF, or World Boxing Organization, WBO, chaos, just one true champion per division. On top of that, the league plans to streamline boxing's weight classes, cutting them down to just the original categories: flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. That's a massive undertaking, and His Excellency Alalshikh will need to manage all the challenges that come with it. And let's not forget, there's a huge event coming up in New York next month. Tyson Fury and Canelo Alvarez have just signed a 4-fight deal under his Riyadh season. That's something boxing fans will definitely be looking forward to. For all the latest updates on news, moments, events, and action in the world of boxing, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you're the first to know when we drop more quality content like this. Until next time, peace.